I am fascinated by this project that you gentlemen are embarking on, the study of the Reagan presidency, because I think it has baffled so many people. It has confounded his opponents. It is unexplainable to many intellectuals as to how this Hollywood actor could have done what he has done and get away with it. They simply cannot understand that. Let me try to explain a little bit about it from my particular vantage point. And that vantage point happens to be that of a businessman, or more precisely a financier, with no political background, joining an administration of very skilled politicians, and witnessing what happened during that time. Ronald Reagan, in my judgment, and I'll put my final paragraph first, will go down in history, in my judgment, if not in the top tier, secondly, at the top of the second tier among presidents of the United States since World War I. I think that with the exceptions of Roosevelt and Truman, and possibly one or two others, few will have accomplished as much as this man has in his 8-year term. Now, we are currently living still during that time, and to many it's hard to see that from the vantage point of being in this particular moment in history, rather than having the luxury of 20/20 hindsight and being able to look back on it to say they did this right or they didn't do that right. From the point of view of Ronald Reagan, all you have to do is to start ticking off some of the accomplishments to get the scope of what I think his residue will be. And that, first of all, let's take the domestic side. Now, I know that in this Bush-Dukakis debate time, there are many who will say yes and many will say no to my next statements. But for the moment, I consider them as truth. We'll debate the points later. First, Ronald Reagan did inherit an economic mess. I'm talking now domestic issues. I was on Wall Street at the time, and I can assure you that in 1979 and 1980, the stock market and the bond markets were close to panic. We had a prime rate of interest that was up at 21% at its peak. Why? Because inflation was rising so much, and bankers, as all good bankers do, were demanding a better price for their money in a time of violent inflation. Inflation was running 11, 12, 13%, hit almost 17% at an annual rate at one period. Paul Volcker had panicked in 1979 at an international bankers conference, raced back to the United States and put on the brakes, so much so that we all went over the curve and hit the bottom, and we had a recession in 1980. True, it was short-lived, but nevertheless it caused again great consternation, a recession in the middle of a presidential campaign. From the point of view of the Carter people, thanks a lot, Paul. Great president that you gave the president. Now, the reversal of that, again, was short-lived.